So, yesterday we had the Carabao semi-final that took place at Middlesbrough's home ground. So the Carabao semi-finals is a two-legged semi-final that will see the team that proceed through the two legs to the final. So Chelsea were hosted by Middlesbrough, and in this game Chelsea anticipated to try to at least get a result against Middlesbrough so that they can increase their chances and their favorability to go to the final at Wembley. So Chelsea or Middlesbrough will be meeting either Fulham or Liverpool that will manage to proceed to Wembley. However, Chelsea really needed this win. Now, the game ended 1-0 in favor of Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough will take their positivity with how they held their fort to stop Chelsea from scoring goals, though Chelsea had clear-cut chances in which they missed. Now, the Middlesbrough team will be quite impressed with their performance last night, especially their resolute defending and their deep, compact block that stopped Chelsea from progressing with the ball. On the other hand, this again is pushing a lot of questions on Mauricio Pochettino's Chelsea, and especially if he has made the impact that was expected by him when Chelsea hired him, since things are not looking quite great for Pochettino. Now, one of the key things that we realized in this game is the consistent reliance on Levi Colwill at left back, and this is a player who has proven time and time again that he's not comfortable and is not equipped to play in this left back position. Another astounding thing is the omission of Armando Broja from the lineup, a player who opened the scoreline against Preston. And this was also quite shocking, since he's an aerial threat who was not even deployed on the pitch. And this also brought a lot of questions on why Christopher Nkunku did not manage to play and how his injury is currently affecting Chelsea's performance. Another shocking decision by Pochettino is playing Cole Palmer as a false nine. Playing Palmer as a false nine against a team that is playing a very deep lower block was not quite effective, with Palmer missing some crucial chances in this game. Another problem was Conor Gallagher. He did not look quite resolute or quite inspiring in this game. And questions are being asked if he is a midfielder of Chelsea's caliber or Chelsea should cash out on him. Now, a lot of questions are now being asked on Mauricio Pochettino and whether is he the right man to take Chelsea forward. One of the key problems that Chelsea have been facing this season is the lower block. And I've done videos on why Chelsea struggle against the lower block. And to add on this, I've also done videos on how elite teams such as Liverpool and Manchester City break these lower blocks down. So if I do a video on Middlesbrough, it's like I'll be a broken record. So to save myself from currently doing repetitive videos on explaining one key Chelsea problem, I have prepared for you videos in which I discussed how Chelsea failed to break lower blocks. So kindly enjoy the analysis.
Their pacey front three and the ability of them to play these long balls in behind, as we saw in the West Ham game. West Ham decided to sit deep to close this gap. And this is what many mid blocks and lower blocks teams do, forming banks of four in front of their goal line. So Sterling and Chilwell were tasked to give width to the team, with Thiago Silva, Disasi and Colwill forming the back three. Now, the issue with these two banks of four is that they like to condense the space in between the lines, and you only find Nicholas Jackson as the only person occupying this position. So you will find Enzo roaming around all over the pitch, but Chelsea are not exploiting the center of the pitch. Now, you can see that Pochettino prefers building with the back from this clip. This is a clip of his Tottenham team back in the days. Pochettino likes his center backs to form back three, with one holding midfielder dropping deep. This was aided by Eric Dyer dropping in between the two center backs. And you saw Pochettino likes to pick players over the top when opposition decide to press high. Pochettino's teams like to have high and wide wing backs with two holding midfielders. Fullbacks or wingbacks are a crucial component of a Pochettino system, since they're the ones who are required to generate width. Unlike Manchester City, who prefer having their wingers wide, Pochettino prefers having his wingbacks wide, with midfielders occupying the central zone. So another problem that is in the Pochettino system is Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez is an incredible player, but his shooting accuracy is quite poor in the final third. Therefore, Chelsea need a player who's excellent at shooting and scoring goals. Enzo Fernandez can use his incredible build-up and vision in deeper positions to link up play. In some instances, Raheem Sterling tries to run at the fullback, but he doesn't have the support, and therefore most of the times he gets cornered by the fullback, since there's no other player who's occupying the half spaces. So when he decides to occupy the half spaces, the only thing that Gusto can do is just make these crosses, which teams in lower blocks have excellent centre backs in winning these headed balls, and immediately launch quick counter attacks. In last season and in the previous seasons, Chelsea have struggled, especially at home, breaking lower blocks, teams coming to Stamford Bridge and sitting deep, soaking up pressure. There are two ways to break lower blocks. One, playing with width and utilizing the full width of the pitch, and number two, playing through, using individual player skills in tight positions to be able to break this lower block. And we are going to look at two teams which have done this perfectly. But before we do this, we are going to understand what is a lower block. Which teams are these that we define them as lower blocks? And we are going to explain this. So teams that play in a lower block primarily do not press high up the pitch, but rather emphasize on sitting deep, two banks of four, and preventing opponents from scoring. So Pep Guardiola faces lower blocks in every match he plays. Unlike facing teams in the Champions League and top teams in the Premier League, most of the teams that encounter Manchester City normally position themselves in lower blocks. And who is the best person to explain how to break down a lower block rather than Pep Guardiola, who faces lower blocks every game? Another team that faces lower blocks is Liverpool, and Klopp has done it quite resoundingly in the past 4 seasons, breaking lower blocks, and we are going to see how he does this. But before we start this analysis, like, share and subscribe to our channel for more videos. So the first team is playing with the width, and our team of focus is Manchester City. So how does Manchester City employ the use of stretching the pitch to be able to break down lower blocks? That is our analysis, and we are going to see the patterns of play that Manchester City employ. And this is how it is. So lower blocks teams do not like to press teams such as Manchester City, but rather they sit in two banks of four. So Guardiola forms his team in a 4-3-3 system. He emphasizes his wingers to stay wide, and his wingers need to be excellent 1v1 wingers. For example, look at how Manchester City are building from the back. Look at the position of Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling in this setup. The wingers are staying quite wide, while West Ham has a bank of 4 in front of their goal line. Raheem Sterling is quick in dribbling in and cutting in and attempting those crosses. Look at the position of Sané, staying quite wide, pulling out the opposition fullback, with David Silva making that half space run. And you can see how Aguero and Sterling are key in making those late runs. The position of two wingers gives teams tactical problems, since having two wingers who are excellent at dribbling will cause havoc for fullbacks. Therefore, fullbacks come out and try to force these wingers to play towards the byline where they can attempt crosses. but these teams have excellent centre backs who win the ball most of the times. So Guardiola prefers having a front man of 5 players, with 2 attacking number 10s occupying the half spaces. The position of these 2 number 10s limits the opposition wingers from pushing forward to create counter-attack situations. Therefore, they always isolate the opposition fullback in a 2v1 system. Look, 2 wide players in the wide channels, the striker occupying the centre back, with the 2 attacking number 8s positioning themselves in between the fullback and the centre backs in the half spaces. You can see how excellently Manchester City are able to build through this Liverpool's mid block. The position of De Bruyne and David Silva with the dropping in Aguero is enabling Manchester City to easily beat this kind of system. And having creative players in this half space, you can see David Silva receives the ball and immediately plays in Sane, with Raheem Sterling making the far post run to finish it with an easy tap-in. Guardiola also positions his fullbacks in an inverted kind of system. So this position enables his creative attacking midfielders to also attempt shots on goal from these kinds of position. We've also seen his aggressive attacking inside forwards / attacking eights making these half space runs and attempting crosses, something that De Bruyne has done excellently, with Gundogan making late runs in the box to score after Haaland drags the centre backs deep. You should also understand that the position of Guardiola's wingers to be able to cut in and attempt shots on goal is the reason why the likes of Jack Grealish and Bernardo Silva are preferred in the wide areas. Jack Grealish in this position receives the ball, holds the ball till the entire team shifts across and leaves wide acres of space in the other side, where Riyad Mahrez can receive the ball through a quick switch of play and immediately kickstart Manchester City's counter-attack. Now, this system is what has led Guardiola to win the treble and win successive Premier League titles throughout his career at Manchester City. The ability to manipulate the half spaces and the wide spaces is something that you need to be actually perfect to be able to break down teams in lower blocks. The second system that can be employed is the system whereby you play through the deep block. This system is much harder than the previous system because in this system, you don't just need positional awareness, but rather you need individual skills. Players who are capable in playing in tight situations. The perfect example of this system is Liverpool's system under Jurgen Klopp. Klopp had one of the best front threes in breaking down lower blocks in Mane, Salah and Roberto Firmino. So this is how Liverpool played through these deep blocks. By having wingers coming in and making these diagonal runs, Liverpool's front three, especially Roberto Firmino, was quite impressive in making short link-up plays with Salah and Mane making diagonal runs between the fullbacks and the centre-backs. The position of Liverpool's fullbacks was also quite important, with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson being key in the positions where Liverpool are able to overload opposition defenses with their ever accelerating and advancing fullbacks. And we're going to see how Jurgen Klopp has been breaking down lower blocks in the Premier League. So the fullbacks were quite staggered. You'd see that Salah and Mane will start high wide with the energetic midfield of Henderson, Fabinho and Ronaldo. So when Salah received the ball in these kinds of positions, being a little attacker, he will make these diagonal runs with Sadio Mane. And Trent Alexander-Arnold will also use his accurate passing accuracy to play these balls over the top for these diagonal runs being made by Salah and Sadio Mane. So when Fabinho sometimes received the ball, Liverpool used to operate with Firmino being a false nine, receiving the ball and immediately slipping the ball for the runs of Salah and Mane, who are making diagonal runs. And you're going to see that shortly. The position of Firmino in this team was quite crucial, and that of Trent Alexander-Arnold, since Salah would be drifting out wide to receive the ball. Being one of the best 1v1 wingers, the teams will be shifting in these kinds of instances. Trent will use his accurate passing accuracy to shift the ball to Robertson and then attempt a cross for Salah, who will now make this diagonal run, something that Liverpool did effectively. For example, look at this video. See how Firmino drops, receives the ball, uses his skill to play in Salah, who later scores an easy goal. This is a system that requires players who are skillful in receiving the ball in tight areas. Pochettino has preferred to play Chelsea in a 3-4-3 system. This system is good when you have wing backs who know how to play in tight situations and you actually have forwards. But you're going to discuss why Chelsea is not succeeding this way in part 2 of this analysis of why Chelsea are failing to break lower blocks. We are going to see how Pochettino sets his team up and how Chelsea fail in breaking these teams down, after you've already seen a background study of